Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back to my channel, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados, for another riveting episode of Fighting Fantasy Fun as I start playing this. This is the strangely titled Crypt of the Sorcerer. I do always feel that it should be Crypt of the Necromancer, and I do think that was the original title until the boffins at Puffin decided that Necromancer was too scary for them. So yeah, so I might every now and again I may call this Crypt of the Necromancer rather than Sorcerer, but there you go. This is Ian Livingstone, which means we can expect a relatively linear adventure with a bit of dungeon crawling. There will be choices between two different things, where one leads to instant death and the other leads to glory, and there will be no hints as to which is the correct one, and there will be lots of obscure items you need to pick up, several from different locations, and without which you will not be able to proceed any further. That's Ian Livingstone, and that's fine. This one I didn't play back in the 80s. I don't know anything about this at all, which is a great starting point, I think, for enjoying a new book. In other news, you may notice that my old mug has now permanently got a location over here on my display shelf there. And the reason is that it started developing a crack. So I'm not going to show you that mug, but I'm going to show you, just point out on this one. So I had from the top and also halfway down on the outside, I saw a crack one day. And then I looked on the inside of the mug and you could see the same crack, which means that that definitely should not be used anymore. So at the moment I'm using this souvenir mug from Poland, which is also quite nice to use. Just a regular plain printed mug, really. Me and the missus, when we went on holiday several years ago, we used to always get three things when we went on holiday as souvenirs. We would get a fridge magnet, and then we'd get an ornament for the Christmas tree, and lastly would get a mug. But we don't get the mugs anymore now because we got enough mugs, really. So yeah, so it's just when we really need mugs that we would buy a mug now. But it's nice to have a Christmas tree with souvenirs on it. I mean, Christmas ornaments that have some kind of relationship with places that we've been. And also some of them are also gifts from others as well, which is really nice. So yeah, good memories on a tree, which is what Christmas should be as well, I think. Right. Was there something else I wanted to say? Yes, you may notice I'm actually sitting in a slightly different position than usual, a little bit more that way. I'm really getting thrown off because my the camera view on my screen is not mirrored, and that is so confusing sometimes. So, and also I've been tidying a lot lately, the last few weeks, and I've done some woodworking as well. And that's why I'm sitting here, is because I've changed my desk. So let's just have a little look at that in a moment. So, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. Right. So here we are, new desk today. This is so much better than my old desk. My old desk was a cheapo IKEA one that is one of those that are two very, very thin plates of wood that are hollow in between, and then it's just hollow, so it makes a very nice sort of, not very nice. It makes too much sound when you bump into it. And then I'd put two pieces of plywood on top, of really terrible quality plywood, to make it bigger as well. This, on the other hand, well, when I say new, this is a 20-year-old dining table that's been in use almost every single day for the last 20 years. It's been cleaned and revarnished at least once, and I got this for free. Brilliant. But I did have to do a little bit of woodworking to get this all fine as well. So I've had to sand it down because the varnish was a bit ugly. And I couldn't use the original legs because I don't know where they are. So I had to get some legs from another table. And I had to also modify I don't know what it's called. There's underneath dining tables or wooden tables, you have this sort of wide skirt, a sort of a squarish rectangular thing that goes underneath where the legs are attached. And because I'm sitting quite close to the tabletop now, I had to actually reduce the width of it to about this in front. So now in front it's like this, and it widens out towards the corners where the legs are attached. So yeah, so a bit of woodworking. I still have more to do. I'm just doing it one bit at a time because this table is smaller than I'm used to. So that means I will want to make some kind of side table over on my side, and I will also make a riser, a sort of a riser for my screen, so that everything is off the actual tabletop. And the riser, in addition to that, I can build sort of shelves on top of that again, because I do have some things I want easily accessible right in front of me, and that would be absolutely brilliant without taking up actual desk space. So I do have some woodworking plans that I'm doing, which is always great fun. I had to tidy the garage, of course, before I could do anything at all. That's the thing about a garage, that of course these garages you have in these houses, they're too small for a car. So what you end up is using them as storage or a sort of a workshop or storage come workshop. But that's the thing, isn't it? You get something in a big box, for instance, one day, and you want to keep the box just in case you need to return it. You put that box in the garage, etc., etc., and it sort of tends to pile up a little bit. So it had piled up a little bit, and I needed to tidy quite a bit before I could actually get some work done. Another thing that you may or may not notice today, I'm not sure how this will affect the sound, but I've moved my microphone now. So my microphone used to live in front of me on the table, actually, on top of a piece of foam, so I wouldn't get too much sound from the table. But now I've got it on an arm, an extendable arm on the side here, and I've had this arm for ages. It's just it was broken, so I had to fix it. So that's one thing I've done as well. So I'm see how that is. The microphone is actually now quite high up. It's higher than the camera in front of me. And I don't know how that's going to affect the sound, but you would get less of the sound of what happens when I sort of drop a pen or roll a die. That wouldn't be as loud as before relative to my speaking. At least in theory it shouldn't be. Also, by the way, the sound of, I like the way this table sounds when you roll dice on it as well. It's very nice. Right, enough rambling about that. Although, I should do one more ramble as well while I'm at it. So at the moment, and if you watch this and you notice there was no advert in the front of this video, and the reason is that at the moment my channel is not monetized. It was intended to be, but at the moment it isn't for different reasons. I'm not going to go into that now, but that means that if you want to support my channel and the creative work that I do, if you like, share, comment, subscribe, join me on Patreon, buy me a coffee, buy a piece of music, a piece of art, buy anything through my affiliate links if there are any. All those things will help me a lot. Just a tiny bit goes a long way to actually helping me run this channel. So if you want to support me, now's your chance. All the links, relevant links in the description. Right, let's get started. So I've got my supplies, I've got my character sheet, got my book, my map, dice, pens, and no green pen today. And the reason is I don't like the green pens. They don't give you enough color. They don't have as strong a color as the other pens. It just always feel a little bit dry, and I don't like using it. I have to sort of scroll over it more than once to get a nice even color. And also I've got my cup of tea, of course. Let's just get started, shall we? So on the Crypt of the Necromancer. Right, so let's see if we have the usual Stats, skill, stamina, and luck. In this one, no willpower like we had in the previous one, Beneath Nightmare Castle. So skill 11, that's probably a good idea. This being an Ian Livingstone book, you probably need at least 11. Stamina 20. And luck 12. Okay, that's pretty good. Good starting stats. Let's see if there's anything else that's out of the usual. Probably standard. Testing luck in battles. And that's it. Nothing special. No claims that... No hints on play in this one, actually. This is the shortest introduction ever. They remove the hints on play where it says how that you should be mapping and you won't be able to make it on your first time. And it doesn't say that it's going to be easy to get through if you follow the right path. Nothing. So, right. Background. Chalice is a small town lying on the banks of Silver River at the base of Moonstone Hills. It has grown from being merely a cluster of cabins and huts to its present size, mainly because it became an important trading center for prospectors seeking gold in the hills. It was the first safe haven for merchants who had traveled west from the flatlands on their way to Silverton. In Chalice, they could rest and do business without fear of attack. There are plenty of inns and places of entertainment, and it used to be among the most boisterous towns of Alancia. But now, as you look out of the window of your upstairs bedroom at the Lion Inn, there is no sign of merriment. For 3 weeks, the sky has been dark and menacing. People recently arriving in Chalice from the east have told of pestilence, plague, disease, and famine moving ever closer to the west. Only yesterday, a story spread like wildfire through the town that someone had discovered where the source of evil lay. An elf, flying south on his giant eagle over the southern edge of Moonstone Hills, noticed a deep fissure in the ground, out of which rose a putrid-smelling vapor. All around the fissure the grass was blackened, and the trees were stunted and leafless. As he flew over the fissure, the elf said, he saw a scorched and withered hand rise out of the gap, its claw-like index finger pointing up at the eagle. An energy bolt shot up from the tip of the finger and burned a hole straight through the poor creature. It crashed to the ground, but the elf escaped with his life and walked to Chalice to tell his tale. You are a friend of the old wizard Yaztromo, who lives on the southern edge of Darkwood Forest, and you decide to visit him and relate the elf's tale. In the now familiar dusky light of day, you spur your horse northwards to Yaztromo's tower, and before nightfall you reach the overgrown path that leads to it. You dismount quickly, stride up to the huge oak door, and ring the brass bell that hangs in the stone archway. There is no reply, but suddenly you are tapped on the shoulder, and you whirl around, reaching for your sword. There'll be no need for that, grunts the old man who stands before you, shaking his finger in admonishment. What are you doing here anyway? Disturbing my peace and quiet? I haven't laid eyes on you for over a year, and now you just turn up, unannounced, walk straight through my herb garden and ring my bell long enough to wake the dead. Well, what do you want? You smile to yourself while you watch the grumpy old wizard displaying his usual hospitality. And what's so funny? He asks. Your expression immediately changes, and Yaztromo frowns when he sees the concerned look on your face. I think we should go upstairs so that you can tell me what is troubling you. I presume something is troubling you, as I am sure you wouldn't visit me for any other reason, and I can guess that it has something to do with this infernal dark sky. When you have finished telling Yaztromo the elf's tale, he remains sitting silently in his old oak chair, his face as somber as a grave. At last he speaks, sighing with every word. Then my worst fears are realized. The necromancer has risen. Those fools. Their greed might now bring an end to life in Alancia, unless... Completely puzzled by Jastromo's mutterings, you ask him to explain. As if describing a horrible nightmare, Jastromo recounts the legend of the evil necromancer Razak, who threatened Alancia 100 years ago. Although he first learned his skills as an apprentice to a lawful wizard, Razak was attracted early on in life by the dark power of evil. He realized that he could become a great sorcerer who would one day be able to command everyone to obey him. He had no desire or intention to use his magic to help Alancia. He wanted the kingdom to be brought to its knees. He traveled to a remote part of eastern Alancia, and there he practiced his arcane arts. He quickly progressed through the levels of dark magic, from lowly apprentice to wizard and then sorcerer, so that at last his powers were so great that he became a necromancer, having spent the last 40 years in solitude. Razak then sent messages to all the nobles of Alancia, demanding that they acknowledge him as their ruler. At first they ignored him, for none had heard of him. Razak took umbrage, and in retaliation brought plague and pestilence to the nobles' provinces, giving them until the next full moon to recognize his leadership. Many warriors offered to try to slay Razak, and many died in the attempt. But one brave man by the name of Kull succeeded and saved Alancia. He owned a sword which he had found in the Moonstone Hills, gripped by a skeletal hand rising from a mist-covered lake, across which he was sailing a raft. Kull was mesmerized by the sword's magnificent beauty. He immediately wanted it for his own and reached out for it. The skeleton made no attempt to prevent him, and simply slipped down into the muddy depths of the lake as soon as it released the sword. Kull was so overwhelmed with the sword that nothing else mattered to him. He steered his raft to the shore and began testing his new weapon. He discovered that nothing could dull its edge, and that it could cut through plate mail armor with ease. He did not realize that the sword had once belonged to Razak, and was the only weapon in the whole world with the power to slay him. Razak, in order to become a necromancer, had had to relinquish all weapons, but there was no power strong enough to destroy his cursed sword. To try to rid himself of the sword, Razak threw it into the lake, but it rose to the surface in the grip of the skeleton. For years the skeleton clutched the sword until Kull caught sight of it and took it for himself. And so a twist of fate took the invincible Kull to Razak, and Razak was slain at the hand of Kull by the sword that had once been his own. But the moment Razak was slain, Kull's flesh fell from his bones and lay in a pile of dust around his skeletal feet. Razak's magic had condemned him to an eternal nightmare as a skeleton, unable to release the sword. He seized a hooded robe and fled into Moonstone Hills, and it is said that to this day he drifts constantly across the same lake on his raft, clutching the sword, unable to rest until someone takes it from him. Razak's body was placed in a stone sarcophagus and entombed in the fissure in the southern hills. The crypt was sealed by a lawful sorcerer who decreed that it must remain unopened for 110 years. Otherwise, the necromancer would rise with a host of undead to destroy all life. I can only assume, concludes Jastromo with a deep sigh, that treasure hunters found the necromancer's crypt and opened it unknowingly. Razak must be destroyed before it is too late. Oh, but it's going to be so difficult. We'll need to find Razak's sword and a number of talismans and amulets that will protect you from the necromancer's magic. I trust you will volunteer for this mighty task? Slowly you nod your head, although your brain is still spinning with Jastromo's tale of Razak and poor Kull. Good, continues Jastromo. Now don't worry about the sword. I won't let you become a skeleton. Just bring it back here, and in the meantime I'll be calling on a few people who can help us. There is no time to waste. You must find the lake in Moonstone Hills. Rest well tonight, and leave at first light, what little of it there is. Now turn over. Right, so we got a very interesting beginning there, and a little bit more backstory than we often get actually in Ian Livingstone books. Yeah, so we already know that we have to get our shopping list is a sword and several talismans and amulets. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Right. Let's see what we got here. And like last time, I think I'm going to be a little bit creative with battles and stuff because, as I've mentioned several times now, the exciting things for me in a fighting fantasy book isn't the rolling of the dice to conduct the battles. It is finding the right path. So I'm going to be a little bit flexible probably, and a little bit, so if I lose a battle, I may still continue, that kind of thing. Right. You are woken from a nightmare in which undead creatures attack you with swords by Yaztromo tapping you on the shoulder. Time to get up. It's almost dawn, he says in a sleepy voice. Okay, that's not the right voice then. Time to get up. It's almost dawn, he says in a sleepy voice. Within 20 minutes, you're outside and mounted on your horse. Yaztromo smiles, ever optimistic in the face of danger, and hands you a small glass vial. Healing potion, he explains. Enough for 5 tots. Note this on your adventure sheet. Okay, so we got healing 5, and healing potion will restore 4 stamina points each time it is drunk. Make a note each time you drink a tot. The old wizard then waves to you as you gallop off, heading east. After you gallop off, heading east towards Moonstone Hills in search of the lost lake. By midday, the hills rise up threateningly from the horizon, flanking you from north to south, and you wonder how you will ever find the lake. By nightfall, you find yourself at the foot of the hills where Silver River flows out onto the windward plain towards Chalice. You decide to camp by the river and make a fire to keep you warm, and also to ward off any hunters of the night. The night passes without incident, and in the morning you wake feeling hungry. After eating bread and cheese from your backpack, you climb onto your horse and decide which way to head. If you wish to wade across the river and ride east into the hills, turn to 255. If you would rather follow the river north up into the hills, turn to 146. So we already got 2 options for where to go. So don't really have any clues now as to where in the hills this is, which is a bit of a shame. So 255 east and 146 north. I want to start with east, I think. So I'm going to go wade across the river and ride east, 255. You urge your horse into the river and are soon on the far bank. After a while, you reach the top of the first hill and look east, towards what seems a never-ending range of hills. As you start your descent, you see a small wooden hut, partly hidden by the trees. The roof has caved in and there are no visible signs of life. If you wish to enter the hut, turn to 332. If you would rather ride on by, turn to 53. So we've got hut and continue. So 332, hut, or 53, continue. So I'm going to check out the hut, obviously. Test your luck. I roll 4, I'm lucky. Luck goes down to 11. So let's see, luck. $384. Lucky at 85 on lucky. You walk past an unseen pit hidden by twigs and leaves. It was built by the fur trapper who used to live in the hut. Turn to 23. Okay, I didn't need to know that, but there you go. The door of the hut appears to have been smashed down, and you see 2 broken arrows lodged in the paneling. You examine the arrows and see that they are of the type used by goblins. A raiding party must have attacked the fur trapper. You step warily into the hut and search its 3 rooms. You find a hunting knife still gripped by the hand of the dead trapper, but the goblins must have stolen everything else. You tuck the knife in your belt and bury the trapper before remounting your horse and riding off. Turn to 53. So, you find a knife, which I don't know if that's going to be relevant, but it doesn't sound like an essential item because I've got a sword, don't I? So, there you go. 53. 2 hours later, you are deep in the hills. You gaze up at the somber grey sky, scanning it for winged killers that might swoop down to attack. There are no flying creatures to be seen, but an unnerving silence sends a shiver down your spine. Suddenly, your horse whinnies and rears up onto its hind legs. Roll 2 dice. If the result is the same as or less than your skill, yep. Turn to 39. Otherwise, let's see, skill. So 39, success, 298, fail. So 39. Keeping a firm grip on the reins, you are able to stay in the saddle. Suddenly, 3 evil-looking creatures materialize as if by magic to ambush you. Turn to 239. Okay, 239. The stone-coloured chameleonites bound forward on 2 legs with strange, jerky movements. Their bulbous eyes and long tongues protrude from their reptilian heads, and their bodies are covered with scales. But they are humanoid in shape, and each carries a stone club with which to attack you. Fight them one at a time. If you're still on horseback, add 2 to your attack strength during each round of combat, which means my attack strength is going to be 13. This is going to be a walk in the park. So I've got 13, 20 right now, and they have 7. So 7, 7, 6, 6, 6, and 7, 7. One at a time. So first one, I've got a 6 skill point advantage, or 6 attack score advantage. He rolls 9, 4, 6, 8. Actually, if he rolls so little, I will automatically hit him. I may as well just not re-roll 5, so that's a hit. He rolls 11, I roll 8. So he's gone. Next one, I got a 7 skill point advantage. 10, 9, 8. That's a hit. And 7, that's a hit. And last one, 6 advantage. He rolls a 3. He rolls a 2. He rolls 11, and I roll 5. So that's a draw. He rolls 10, I roll 9, and that's it. Okay. Let's see. 7, 7, 6, 6, 7, 6. If you win, turn to 356. You look down at the lifeless bodies of the chameleonites and recall a legend you were once told. It is said that the blood of these rare creatures gives a human being the power of perfect camouflage just once in his or her life. But it is also said that sometimes there are terrible side effects. If you wish to dab some Comedianite blood onto your body, turn to 124. If you would rather spur your horse on further east, turn to 180. So that is interesting option there. 1, 2, 4, 180, blood east. I'm definitely going to try the blood and see what happens. I have to roll something then. You tentatively dab some blood onto yourself and wait to see if you feel any ill effects. Roll 1 die. Roll the 2. And let's see, so that's 1d6. So that's 3. So that's 1, 6, 3, 2, 7, 2, 3, 6, 1. So that's 1, 2, 3 to 6. Okay, so I roll the 2 and I go to 272. You break out in a sudden sweat and are soon consumed by fever. You feel weak and are forced to lie down, shaking uncontrollably. The ordeal lasts an hour and weakens you considerably, lose 1 skill point and 4 stamina point. But at least you have the consolation of being able to camouflage yourself. With your spirit still high, you turn your horse east, turn to 180. So we have there 180. So skill -1, stamina -4, 10, 16, 180. At the bottom of the next hill, you see that the ground is littered with the large bones of unknown creatures. Some are piled high while others are scattered over a wide area. Suddenly you notice a small black cloaked and hooded figure scurry from behind one pile of bones to another. Go away, he shouts in a voice full of fear. If you wish to approach him, turn to 70. If you would rather ride around the Valley of Bones, turn to 369. So, 369, around or approach. Well, he says go away. I'm going to approach anyway because I want to find out what's going on here. As you approach the pile of bones, you are assailed by a salvo of bones, frantically thrown by the little man. If you wish to attack him, turn to 134. If you would rather call out and tell him that you mean him no harm, turn to 343. So I'm not going to attack him, obviously. He doesn't mean any harm to me. 134, 343. He's just trying to chase me away. He might actually be trying to help me. So attack and call out. So I'm going to go to 343, see if I can figure out what's going on here. The little man stops throwing the bones and asks you why you are trespassing on his ground. You reply that you are on an important quest and that you must find the lost lake. I'm just a simple man known as the Bone Keeper, the little man says in a sad voice, and I do not know of any lost lake. I sought through these bones and carved some of them into magical rings. I would very much like a new knife for my work, and would gladly give you one of my rings in exchange. If you possess a knife which you would like to exchange for a ring, turn to 208. That's interesting. Okay, so knife, question mark. If you decide to attack the Bone Keeper after all, otherwise you bid him farewell and ride out of the Valley of Bones. So 369 or 208, so ring. So I'm going to give him the knife that I found and get a ring. You hand the Bone Keeper the knife. He examines it carefully, grunts in satisfaction, and unties a leather pouch which is hanging around his neck. He hands you a ring made of highly polished bone which has a full moon carved into its surface. Protect you from werewolves, that will, he says very proudly. Just point it at the werewolf and say 1, 2, 3, turn and flee. That's all. You thank the Bone Keeper for the ring, bid him farewell, and ride out of the Valley of Bones. turn to 369. Okay, so I got a ring, werewolf, protection. Right. That's alright then, that might come in handy. It doesn't sound like an essential item again, it sounds like something that is nice to have but not necessary. Which means that the other direction in the beginning may yet be the correct one. 369. Leaving the valley behind, you urge your horse up the next hill until you reach a pile of dark granite boulders. The largest boulder appears to have some words chiseled into it, most of which are hidden by moss. If you wish to dismount and examine the words, turn to 306. If you would rather ride on, turn to 324. So, 324, ride on, or 306, writing. So let's have a little look and see. 306. You scrape the moss away and read the words of a rhyme. To go beyond a granite door, press the numbers 184. That was not very cryptic at all, was it? So we have here a clue. So clue 184 granite door. Okay, that might be essential. That sounds essential. You memorize the rhyme, remount your horse and ride on. Turn to 324. At the bottom of the hill, you see a narrow stream running north to south across your path. When you arrive at the edge, your horse stops and puts its head down to drink. If you wish to release the reins to allow your horse to drink, turn to 376. If you would rather force it to cross the stream so that you can continue your quest, turn to 391. Right, so the way this is worded, you sort of think something bad is going to happen if you don't let it drink, or something bad is going to happen if you let it drink. One or the other. Right, so I think I'm going to let it drink, see what happens. 376, drink, or 391, cross. 376. Your horse drinks long and hard at the cool stream. You decide to do likewise, as you believe the water to be pure in the hills. Add 1 stamina point. When you think your horse has rested enough, you remount and cross the stream. Turn to 391. So, stamina plus 1. So that's 17. 391. You reach the brow of the next hill and look eastwards into the distance. All you can see is the never-ending range of hills, stretching out into the gloom of the dark sky. Suddenly you hear the sound of galloping hoofs and shrill war cries piercing the silence. You turn to look behind you and see a group of goblins charging up the hill on horses, riding bareback. One of them carries a banner with shrunken heads swinging from it. There are 4 goblins in the raiding party, and you must quickly decide what to do. If you wish to charge down the hill to attack them, turn to 60. If you wish to gallop away from them, turn to 16. Right. So that's 60, attack, 16. Wait, I'm gonna just charge them, aren't I? I mean, how many were there? Group of goblins. 4 goblins in the raiding party. Okay, only 4 goblins? I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'm gonna attack them. 60. You manage to maneuver your horse so that you can fight the goblins one at a time. Right, so 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 5, 6, 6. So, you know what? If I lose this battle, I would start over and do exactly the same thing. I'm going to just pretend that I won the battle. It's so much more convenient. 243, and it's more fun for me. So 243. No, 243. That's not the right one. Yes. Hang on. 60. That's the wrong one. 116 is what I was looking for. So 116. 116. A search through the canvas bags belonging to the goblins yield 2 gold pieces. So we got gold, 2. Some stale cheese and a cracked mirror and a silver frame. You pack away the gold in the mirror and examine the cheese. So I've got a cracked mirror. If you want to eat it, turn to 140. If you'd rather throw it away and write east, turn to 292. I don't think I want to eat some strange cheese. So I'm just going to keep going, I think. Let's see. So 140. Eat. Or 292. Continue. So I'm going to continue on my way. 292. You ride over the top of the hill again and down the other side. At the bottom you can see a small wood at the end of the valley to the north. If you wish to ride towards the wood, turn to 203. If you would rather ride up the next hill, turn to 280. So I'll just put those options up there. So 280, next hill, 203, wood. I'm going to go for the wood this time. You trot between tall, gnarled trees into thick undergrowth. It is dark and eerie in the wood, with what little light there is outside virtually shut out by the crowded treetops. You pull your horse to a halt and have a strong feeling that you are being watched. Keeping a constant watch all around you, you urge your horse to walk on. Turn to 365. 365. As you ride slowly through the wood, you see the leaves of a bush move and cannot convince yourself that it was ruffled by the wind. Sip of tea, I think. You draw your sword and turn your horse towards the bush. A hideous creature suddenly leaps out and stares at you through sunken eyes as dark as the earth itself. And that's this charming looking one here, I think. The creature is humanoid in shape, but with dark, crusty skin like bark, covered in moss and fungus, and crawling with bloated insects. It has a lifeless expression on its crumpled face. Suddenly the wood demon's arms uncurl and extend like long vines and try to pull you from your horse. Roll 2 dice. If the total is the same as or less than your skill, yep. So let's see, skill. 3, 9, 7. Fail. Or 2, 3, 2. Success. 3, 2. You fend off the arms with your sword and then lunge forward to attack the demon of the woods. So skill 9, stamina 10. 9, 10. I'll just roll this one, even though it's quite a hard battle actually, but it's one of those that it makes it more enjoyable in a way. So I've got 10 and 17 And he's got 9, 10. So I've only got 1 skill point advantage. He rolls 6, 7, 9, 10, 5, 3, 11, 8, 7, 9, 3, 12, 8, 8, and he is dead. Right. If you win, turn to 89. So 89. If you wish to tie your horse up to a tree and trudge through the thick undergrowth to find the demon's lair, turn to 319. If you would rather ride out of the wood as quickly as possible, turn to 168. So either I want to leave 168, leave, or 319 lair. Obviously, I'm going to find the lair of this fellow. 319. You spend some minutes cutting your way through the bushes and brambles, but fail to find a lair. Perhaps the demon had no resting place. You have just decided to give up and return to your horse when something catches your eye in a pile of leaves. You brush away the leaves with your sword and discover the skeletal remains of a human wearing chainmail armor, no doubt a victim of the wood demon. You see that the bony fingers of its right hand are clutching a silver rod, which is about half a meter in length. A fine helmet lies next to the skull, and a perished leather backpack is close by. Will you examine the silver rod, try on the helmet, open the backpack, or leave the body and return to your horse? So we've got 4 options. Exciting stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 2, 2, 1. Leave. 175 backpack. 111 helmet. 360 silver rod. I'm going to go with the helmet. Helmet's always a big gamble in these ones, but always fun, whether it's good or bad. The helmet fits tightly on your head and is quite uncomfortable. Okay, so don't put on the helmet is the conclusion. Okay. The helmet fits tightly on your head and is quite uncomfortable. You decide to take it off, but find that it is impossible to remove it. Lose 1 luck point. So we got luck -1. You have the misfortune to be wearing a helmet of aging, and you immediately age 30 years. Your body feels tired and more feeble than before. Deduct 5 stamina points and 2 skill points. Stamina -5, skill -2. Skill is 8, stamina is 12, luck 10. With this new problem to preoccupy you, you consider your options. If you have not done so already, you may either examine the rod or open the backpack. So I'm going to check out the rod, 360. The rod is hollow at one end and has a screw thread inside it. You just deduce that there is another part to the rod which is either lost or destroyed. You notice the number 37 etched into the solid end of the rod, but do not understand its significance. So we have a number 37. You put the rod into your backpack before deciding what to do next. Rod number 37. If you have not done so already, you may either try on the helmet or open the backpack. So I'm going to check out the backpack as well while I'm at it. 175. The backpack contains 4 gold pieces, a candle, and a rolled up parchment scroll. You place the gold and the candle in your backpack. So I've got gold pieces now, 6. Candle. Okay, so we've got, let's see, gold for candle. Okay, you see that there is, yeah. And look down inside the tubular scroll. You see that there is writing on it. If you wish to open the scroll and read the writing, could be a curse, of course, turn to 268. If you would rather leave the scroll where it is, you may, if you have not done so already, either examine the rod and try on the helmet. If you would rather return to your horse, go to 221. So, right, so scrolls. So I'm going to put that up there, and that is 268. I will read the scroll. Living dangerously, of course. The scroll relates the tale of the fabled Gargantis beast and its miraculous horn. Although there is no absolute proof that the creature exists, rumors about it have been circulating for centuries. It is said to have a lumpy green hide and looks like a cross between a pit fiend and a flesh golem, but with the addition of a single horn in the center of its forehead. The Gargantis' horn is said to possess many magical and mysterious powers, which it would retain even if severed from the Gargantis' head. Anyone in possession of the horn, upon wielding it, would release these powers. You have heard of this beast, but are amazed to read on the scroll that one such creature is purported to dwell in the howling tunnels of the western flatlands. Perhaps the poor adventurer who owned the scroll was on his way to the flatlands when he met an untimely death in the woods. You put the scroll in your backpack. So scroll. So what did it say? There's a howling tunnels. So it's howling tunnels, West's flatlands, Gargantis, and horn. Okay, so let's put that note on my character sheet there. So I'll just put a clue there. Where am I? Right. If you're not done so already, blah, blah, blah. So that means the last option now, the only option left is to return to my horse, 221. Much to your relief, your horse is still tied up to the tree and appears to be contentedly munching the grass. You waste no more time, mount your horse and set off once again. Turn to 168. So 168, and that is a new page. Let's see, we are on FF26, number 1. So FF26, page 2. And here we go to 168. And this goes down to 221 that way. Ever watchful for hidden attackers, you ride slowly through the wood. You soon come to the edge of a small clearing where the ground is covered with globe-like fungi, which are deep purple in color. If you wish to ride through the fungi, turn to 337. If you would rather ride around the edge of the clearing, turn to 302. I'm not going to ride directly through them, I don't think. 302, 337. Through or around. I'm going to go around. Thank you very much. After riding around the clearing, you notice with relief that at last the trees are beginning to thin, and soon you're out of the wood. Turn to 194. So after the wood, but not out of the woods, obviously. 194. You soon reach some tree-covered hills. You decide not to take the risk of being ambushed, and you turn your horse right to head east once again. Turn to 252. 252. Is that the same place as I would have been if I'd gone the... No, that's different numbers anyway. 252. The rest of the day passes without incident and without sight of the lost lake either. In the fading light, you choose a suitable place to camp down for the night, making sure that your horse is securely tethered to a nearby tree. You settle down to sleep, but are woken in the middle of the night by a howling cry. Your eyes open to see a full moon, and in an instant you are standing sword in hand. You feel your heart beating fast as you strain your eyes and ears. Suddenly you hear the sound of a twig snapping, and then a low growl. You see a shadow move, and in the dim light recognize the thick brown hair, long fangs, and bestial features of a werewolf. If you are wearing a moon ring and know how to use it, turn to the number stated in the spell. If you are unable to do this, you must fight the werewolf with your sword. So, let's put on the paragraphs that are mentioned here before I do anything else. So we have here an 8/9 werewolf, and of course, if you get bitten or something just once, that's possibly you. So 275, 36. So that's wounded, unwounded. But the moon ring, did it say a paragraph number with a ring? I didn't make a note of a paragraph number there. Let's see, where are we? So 208. Let's just see what it said there. Pointed out the werewolf would say 1, 2, 3, turn and flee. Of course, I didn't think about 1, 2, 3 as a number. I just thought it was counting to 3. So it's 1, 2, 3. And that's the ring. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 is the secret number I can go to now. 1, 2, 3. You point the moon ring at the werewolf and recite the words that the bonekeeper told you. The werewolf howls in terror, turns and disappears into the night to find another victim. Turn to 36. Unable to sleep properly again, you spend a restless night thinking about the task ahead. As soon as it is light enough to see, you mount your horse and set off east once again. You climb the highest hill in order to get a better view, and can hardly believe your eyes. A lake, no more than 2 hours' ride away, lies in a valley to the southeast. With new heart and determination, you spur your horse towards it. Turn to 178. 178. Despite the dark sky, you notice a shadow travel swiftly across your path. You look up and see a winged creature with an eagle-like head and the body of a lion swooping down to attack you. The creature has a bridle around its head, which is held by the rider, a wild-looking girl wearing animal skins. The barbarian girl has a griffin as her steed, an aggressive but loyal creature. And that is a hard battle. I'm just going to do that one, actually, because just to see how it goes. My skill is just 8 now, so basically I'm screwed. 8, 4, 10, 9, 5, 10, 5, 7. That's a draw. 7, 6, 9, 7, 10, 10, 3, 3, and 7, 5. So I'm technically dead. Now, obviously, I made some big mistakes this time in terms of losing things that made me lose my skill, etc. So obviously, I'm not following the right path. So I think I'll let myself die there and start over next time and see, because the thing is that I know that this place now leads to the lake. Lake around here. But there may be other things that I missed along the way, so it's a good thing, I think, to actually restart as well and make some other choices that will give me a more comprehensive look of the map, and to let me find out if there are any other items that are there to be picked up, so that when the time comes that items are actually needed, I will have more of an idea where to find the ones that I actually need. So I'm going to lose that battle and die and call it the day. I hope that's all right. Not the longest episode today, but I hope that's fine with you. So I've got a good start. I think so far it's quite classic Ian Livingstone, relatively linear. There are some clues actually, which is good. There are some items which are interesting, and yeah, we'll see how it goes next time. So I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did enjoy my first jaunt into the crypt of the Necromancer, and I'll see how it goes next time. Right, so there we are, and yeah, so that's it for today, really. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.